Click on the subscribe button to subscribe to our channel, like and share this video, and engage in our comments. I never thought it would happen like that. I didn't plan any of it. One moment we were just living, trying to figure things out like any young couple, and the next, he was gone, taken away in handcuffs like some kind of criminal. I still remember the sound of the door slamming after they dragged him out. It echoed for hours after, and I just sat on the edge of our bed, frozen, trying to process what had just happened. His name was Darren. My Darren. We met at a gas station when I was short on cash, and he paid for my tank without asking for anything in return. We laughed about it later, how cheesy and rom-com it sounded, but that's how we started. He was good to me, always was. Not flashy, not perfect, but solid. Steady in a way I hadn't known I needed. He didn't have much, and neither did I, but together we had enough. Then came Jamal, Darren's best friend since middle school, always in and out of sketchy situations, but Darren stuck by him, maybe out of loyalty, maybe out of guilt. I never liked the guy, but I didn't interfere. Darren said he owed him something, and Darren wasn't the kind of man who broke his word. So when the cops showed up, it was Jamal's mess they were cleaning up. A busted storage unit full of stolen gear, some fake paperwork, and Darren's name stupidly attached to it all. He told me not to worry, that it'd get sorted out, that he didn't do anything wrong. But days turned into weeks, and then came the trial. And somehow, Darren ended up doing time for something I know in my gut wasn't his fault. He never even fought it that hard. Said he didn't want to drag Jamal through the mud, said he could do the time, come out clean, and move on. But I saw the way it broke him a little, even before the sentence was read. I tried to hold on. I did. I wrote letters, visited every chance I got, made sure he knew I was still here, still his. But something changes when the person you love is locked away behind glass and bars and cold gray walls. You start to feel like you're on the outside of everything, like your life's paused, but the world keeps playing. And then came Malik. I met him through work. He was a regular at the diner, always ordering the same black coffee, tipping well even when he didn't have to. He was soft-spoken, polite, but there was something else, something solid, familiar. At first, I didn't even notice it. I was too busy going through the motions, trying to keep everything from falling apart. But Malik, he saw me. I don't mean in some poetic, dramatic way. I mean he actually saw me, tired, worn out, pretending to be okay when I wasn't. He didn't push. He just started sitting at the counter instead of the booth, talking a little more each time, asking how my day was, making me laugh when I hadn't in weeks. I remember the night it changed. It had been pouring rain all day, and he offered to drive me home after my shift. I said no at first. I always did. But that night, I was soaked through, cold, and honestly just tired of pretending I didn't want to say yes. So I got in his car. He didn't try anything. He didn't even look at me in that way. He just turned up the heat and asked what kind of music I liked. And for a while, we sat there in the soft hum of the heater and the gentle beat of some old school R&B, just talking. That was the first time I realized I missed that feeling, being with someone without having to pretend. Not worrying about phone calls from the prison or wondering if they'd let me in that week. Just being there. I told myself it was nothing, just a ride, just a friend. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. And that's when everything started to blur. I didn't expect to see him standing in my hallway. Darren, out of nowhere. No warning, no call, just there. I had just gotten home, keys still in hand, the rain from outside dripping off my jacket. Malik was in the kitchen, barefoot, humming something low while heating up leftovers. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of peace that felt earned after months of scraping by. Then I opened the door, and there he was. Darren didn't look like the man I remembered. His eyes were harder, his shoulders tense like he was still waiting for someone to yell, "Count time." He had facial hair now, messy and unkempt, and a small scar above his eyebrow that hadn't been there before. I froze. He didn't say anything for a second, just looked past me into the apartment. Then I realized he saw Malik, and the silence between the three of us, it was deafening. Malik stepped out of the kitchen slowly, spoon in hand, like he wasn't sure if this was a domestic moment or the beginning of a fight. Darren's jaw clenched. Mine did too. I wanted to say something, anything, but the words wouldn't form. Thought you said you'd wait for me, Darren said. His voice was lower than I remembered, but calm, too calm. I, Darren, I didn't know you were getting out. I wrote you, twice, then stopped when I figured it out. He glanced back at Malik, who didn't flinch. I'll give him credit. He stood his ground. But I could feel his discomfort radiating through the room. I didn't move in with him, if that's what you think, I said quickly. We. It wasn't like that. Not at first. I hated how weak my voice sounded. Like I was explaining myself for something I wasn't even sure I had done wrong. You're living with him now, though, Darren said, still calm, still staring. That's what it looks like. I could feel Malik stepping back, giving us space, like he understood this wasn't his moment. He didn't say a word, just disappeared into the hallway like a ghost. I turned back to Darren, swallowing the guilt rising in my throat. I didn't plan for any of this, I whispered. I tried. I waited. I was alone, and I was angry. And you chose to protect Jamal instead of fighting for yourself. For us. He blinked slowly, and for a second I saw it. The hurt. Not anger, not even betrayal. Just plain raw hurt. You think I don't know that? He said. You think I don't lie awake every night wishing I'd just told the truth? I looked away. I couldn't meet his eyes anymore. I came here to see if there was anything left between us, he said finally. To see if you were still you and I was still me. But maybe I was wrong. He turned his hand on the door. My heart pounded. Darren, wait. He paused, half turned, like he wanted to say something else. But he didn't. He just left. I closed the door and leaned against it, breath shaky, hands cold. Malik came back out after a few minutes, silent. He didn't ask what was said. He didn't need to. He just stood there, waiting to see if I'd crumble. I didn't. Not right then. But later that night, I found myself sitting in the dark on the edge of my bed, staring at nothing, wondering what might have happened if I'd run after him, wondering if I was still his, somewhere deep down, and wondering what the hell I was supposed to do now. The knock came 3 nights later. Late, way past when anyone decent should be showing up. I almost didn't answer, but something in my chest pulled me toward the door. I didn't even ask who it was. I just opened it. And there he was again. Darren stood there like a ghost I'd accidentally summoned. No anger this time, no accusations, just rain clinging to his clothes and something unreadable in his eyes. I couldn't sleep, he said. Kept thinking about you. I didn't respond. I just stepped back and let him in. I knew I shouldn't. I knew Malik was due back from his brother's place in a couple hours, but I moved anyway, like my body had already made the decision for me. He walked in slow, like he wasn't sure he belonged. And maybe he didn't. Maybe neither of us did. Not anymore. I watched him take in the room, how things had changed. New curtains, a second coffee mug on the table, Malik's hoodie draped over the back of the couch. But he didn't say a word about any of it. He just sat down and let the silence stretch out between us until it started to feel like something alive. I should hate you, he said finally, but I don't. I didn't mean for this to happen. That doesn't change that it did. I sat across from him, not touching, not moving, just looking at him, really looking, and I saw it, all the weight he'd carried inside. Not just prison, not just betrayal, but loss, real loss, of time, of trust, of us. I wasn't ready to let go, I said quietly. But life didn't wait for you to come back, Darren. It just kept moving. I was supposed to be part of that life. His voice cracked on that last word, and I felt it in my spine. I stood up too fast, like the emotion was physically pushing me out of the room. But he followed. We ended up in the kitchen, both of us standing there like strangers in a place we used to call home. He was close, close enough that I could smell the rain still clinging to his clothes, close enough that I had to remind myself not to lean in. I used to think about you every single night, he said, eyes locked on mine. Not the you from letters, the real you. The way your voice got low when you were tired, the little scar on your shoulder, the way you always tucked your legs under you when you sat down. I could barely breathe. You don't get to say those things, I whispered. Not now. He stepped even closer, and I didn't stop him. His hand brushed mine, light, barely there, but it sent a shock through my chest. I don't want to mess up whatever you've built, he said, but I needed to know if there's still anything here. Anything real. I should have pulled away. I should have told him no, but I didn't. His hand moved to my waist, gentle, hesitant, and for a split second, I let it stay. I let myself feel what it would be like to fall right back into him, to erase everything in one breath. But then my phone buzzed. A simple vibration on the counter. One look at the screen and everything snapped back into place. Malik. On my way back. Want anything? Darren saw it. He didn't need to ask. His hand dropped from my waist, and just like that, the moment was gone. I should go, he said, voice flat again. And this time, I didn't stop him. But I stood there long after the door shut, heart racing, hands shaking, haunted by the simple truth I didn't want to admit. I had just come one breath away from cheating. And if that text hadn't come when it did, God help me. I think I would have let it happen. I didn't sleep that night. I just laid there beside Malik, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling while his breathing stayed steady beside me. His arm was draped over my waist like it always was, like nothing had changed. But something had. Something big. I hadn't cheated, not technically. But if that message had come 5 minutes later, I might have. And that terrified me more than anything. Malik didn't notice the shift, at least not at first. He was too good, too trusting. He kept going about his mornings like everything was fine, making us coffee, playing music while he showered, kissing my cheek before heading out to work. I kept telling myself I hadn't done anything wrong, that I didn't cross the line. But my body felt different, like it was carrying a secret it wasn't built to hold. Darren didn't reach out again, and I didn't see him for weeks. But I felt him everywhere, in the songs that came on the radio, in the quiet moments when Malik would talk about the future and I'd zone out, picturing a different one with someone else. And then one evening, out of nowhere, Malik asked me, "Do you still talk to him?" I froze. We were cleaning up after dinner, and his voice was so casual I almost missed the weight behind the question. "Talk to who?" "You know who." I looked at him, and there it was, something in his eyes. Not anger, not suspicion, just awareness. Like he'd picked up on something I hadn't realized I was giving off. "No," I said. "Not since that day." He nodded slowly. "Did you want to?" I didn't answer right away. That pause, that 1 second of hesitation, it said more than anything I could have explained. Malik put the dish towel down and just stood there, hands on the counter. "I know he meant something to you," he said. "I've always known, but you've been distant lately, and I'm not stupid, babe." Something shifted after he came back. I swallowed hard, throat tight. "I didn't cheat," I said softly. "I know," he said. "But did you almost?" Silence. He nodded again, slower this time, as if that was all he needed to hear. "I don't want to be someone's second choice," he said. "I love you, but if your heart split down the middle, then I need to know where I actually stand." And just like that, everything I'd been trying to suppress came boiling to the surface. "I didn't plan for any of this," I snapped, louder than I meant to. I didn't ask him to come back. I didn't ask to feel anything. But I did. I do. And I hate that I do. Because I love you too. And I don't know how to shut this part of me off. I was shaking by the time I finished. Malik just stood there, eyes glassy, like I'd finally confirmed what he already knew. He didn't yell, didn't accuse. He just stepped back, like something invisible had shoved him. I think you need to figure out what you really want, he said quietly, because if there's even a part of you that still belongs to him, I can't fight that, and I won't. Then he walked out. No bags, no slammed doors, just space. And for the first time since Darren came back, I was alone, completely, painfully alone. I sat on the couch, pulled my knees up to my chest, and stared at the front door, half hoping Darren would knock again, half praying he wouldn't. Because now it wasn't just about what almost happened, it was about what came next. It took me 4 days to text Darren, not to rekindle anything, not even to explain myself, just to see if he was okay. He replied the same night, I'm good, just trying to stay out of your way. That hurt more than I thought it would, but I didn't argue. I didn't ask to see him again. I just stared at that message for a long time, knowing full well that even if I deleted it, I'd never forget it. I thought I'd feel clearer once Malik left. That space would help, that maybe I'd see things for what they really were. But all it did was make the silence louder. I missed Malik's steadiness, his quiet loyalty, the way he always made life feel less chaotic. But I also kept replaying that almost moment in the kitchen, Darren's hand on my waist, his voice cracking when he talked about us. I wasn't used to being torn between two versions of my life, and no matter how I tried to weigh them, I still ended up stuck. And then one afternoon, Malik came home, not to stay, just to talk. He looked tired, but not angry. He sat on the armrest of the couch, right where he used to toss his jacket every day after work. I've been thinking, he said, and I'm not mad at you. I just, I think we both lost our way somewhere. I nodded, not trusting my voice. I love you, he said, but I need someone who's all in, and I'm not sure that's you anymore. That's when I broke. Not because he was cruel, but because he was right. I'd split my heart in two, and now I had nothing left to offer either side. I'm sorry, I whispered. He nodded, stood, and looked around the room like it was already a memory. I hope you figure it out, he said, and I hope it's worth it. And just like that, he left again. I didn't go after him. I didn't text Darren either. Not that day, not the next. I stayed still. I sat with the consequences of everything I hadn't done, but came so close to doing. That's the thing people don't tell you about temptation. It's not always about what happens. Sometimes it's about what almost does. And those almosts, they linger. They follow you around in quiet moments, reminding you how thin the line really is. I don't know what comes next. I don't know if Darren and I will ever talk again, or if Malik will move on for good. All I know is I stood in the middle of two lives and didn't fully choose either. And that's a choice too. If you've ever been caught between what's right and what your heart won't let go of, you're not alone. And if you want more real, emotional stories like this one, stick around. You might just hear one that hits close to home. Subscribe for more.